Good afternoon. I'm not here to destroy your day or even discourage you from visiting these warships. My name is Ciaron O'Reilly. As one of the 5 people acquitted of $2.5 million criminal damage to a US warplane at Shannon in 2003. I've come today because the British and US Navy are here. And I want you to tour these ships and keep in mind what their basic role is. Now, their basic role is to sustain and expand the British and American empires. And how do they do that? Well, we know very clearly, we're in Dublin here, what the British Navy did, and they indiscriminately bombed the centre of town 100 years ago. And we're very aware of the destruction of that, with photographic evidence and all that kind of stuff. But more recently, what have the British and American Navy done to the people of Iraq? Well, in 1991, they unleashed the equivalent of 8 Hiroshimas over Iraq. And they killed, and they purposely targeted water supplies and sewage treatment works, knowing by bombing them they would unleash plagues of gastroenteritis, cholera and typhoid. And they killed many, many men, women and children. And then what happened in the 1990s is the war did not stop. It turned into a sanctions regime. And that killed about 1 million children under the age of 5 over the next 11 years. When Madeleine Albright was confronted with the statistic in 1996 on 60 Minutes that the sanctions had killed 500,000 children, she flippantly came up with a genocidal response: we think it's worth the price. And that policy continued for another 7 years. Now, what occurred here in 2003 is that we facilitated one of the largest... That's the only response I've got to my argument, but I appreciate it. So, in 2003, Ireland facilitated one of the largest troop movements in human history. Most US troops that went to Iraq to an invasion the Pope declared immoral, UN declared illegal, came through Ireland and were refueled at Shannon Airport. And they were part of an invasion and an occupation that continues to this day. And what they did during that occupation is they practiced torture and indiscriminate killing. And part of the consequences of that is that they've created Islamic State, or the latest response to the occupation. And we know that they have the capability to come to rock concerts in Paris, to airports in Belgium, to the tube system in London. So this war on terror that George Bush Jr. unleashed in 2003 and said had no end, that his sidekick Richard Pearl said we will destroy 5 countries. They've destroyed 3 now. They've destroyed Libya, they've destroyed Iraq, and they've destroyed Syria. And the consequences of that are obviously the millions of refugees that are fleeing those places. There's 3 million refugees from Syria. In Turkey at the moment, there were 2 million Iraqi refugees in Syria before that war kicked off. And we've also got these attacks in Belgium and Paris, etc. So the British and American Navy were central to that policy and central to carrying out the war in Iraq. A war that everyone from Obama to Donald Trump believes was a bad war, at best a huge mistake. That war was a disaster that this country unfortunately was complicit in through the use of Shannon Airport. And I believe complicit by allowing these ships during a time of war to visit this harbour. This ties us into NATO wars in Afghanistan and in the Middle East. And we shouldn't be part of that. We should be an independent country with an independent foreign policy, advocating peace in the world, and not just a sycophantic sidekick to the US empire. And that's what people struggled for in 1916. They didn't struggle to become a suburb of the USA. They struggled against the biggest empire in human history at that point, the British Empire. And they struggled at a time when empires were killing millions and millions of people in a useless war in Europe. And the reason why Ireland had neutrality is that it came out of a militant anti-conscription movement during World War I. You know, where British people were being dragged off to die in the trenches. Irish people did not, they were probably economically conscripted, but they weren't legally conscripted. And it's because of the Irish resistance, conscription was defeated twice in referendums in Australia during World War I because of Irish nationalism. So we shouldn't underestimate our symbolic and cultural power when we take positions of morality, and integrity in the world. But if we're just going to trace along behind the United States, we're on a highway to hell, basically, quite ACDC.